So today I watched a video from my friend. I mean, we all call him Loa Bo Fong, but he has a TikTok channel called Borak. You know, he boraks. He had one channel on TikTok, Borak everything, and then he has another that Borak about cars. Right, he's a car lover as well. I'm sure some of you may have stumbled upon his video. So he was talking about, you know, the differences between Asians and Westerner, and then, you know, he was talking about how we have civilization, and then unlike them, they are, you know, conquerors and genocidals and all that. Now, I don't deny that wars happen, all right, all over the world, be it Asia or the West, right? I mean, if Europe has a conqueror after the Roman Empire, you know, after the Roman Empire, they were separated into the Eastern Byzantine and then the Western remainings of the Roman Empire. So, and after that, I mean, the Roman Empire is a great continuation of the Greek sort of basically Western, the birth of Western, so-called Western civilization, right? So the Greeks actually, I mean, the whole civilization, the mythology and all that originated from the island Crete. Anyway, and then it became the Roman Empire, and of course, over the years there are many wars. You know, the Islamic powers for quite some time govern the entirety of the Iberian Peninsula. Basically, Portugal and Spain was under Islamic rule, right? And then you have the I don't know, I mean, the Christian blah 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 blah. Anyway, after the Roman Empire, there is the Charlemagne. I don't know whether I could pronounce it correctly or not, but Charlemagne or Charles the Great, or sort of unified, and of course it broke up again. And it will only take an extremely ruthless war in order to unify a mass like Europe, right? Which is roughly what China did under Emperor Qin. So I saw maybe a British parliamentarian or something, you know, he was mentioning that, China can be originated to 221 BC. And then I'm like, what? That's the time Emperor Qin unified China, so-called, right? But the warring states, Qin, blah blah, Chu, and all that, right? They have been around. They were battling one another, you know, the remnants of the previous dynasty. Anyway, I'm not saying that Asians don't have war. We do. It's natural. But one thing when it comes to war, say for example Genghis Khan, right? They're like, you surrender your city and I'll spare your life. And if you don't surrender, you put up a defense. When they manage to beat you, they will murder everybody in the city. They will just kill off everybody, right? Not just Genghis Khan. It's a common tactic back then, you know. Anyway, so I'm saying that war, conquering, blah blah, it happens, all right? But of course, those will be far beyond the medieval times, right? If you are talking about the before Christ era, and before Christ era, Emperor Qin is only what, 220 years before Christ? No, it stretches far beyond earlier than that. right? Just that they are of different writing system, different metric system, different calculation systems. By the nature of progression of society and advancements of technology, every time a region is in a warring state period, technology will spearhead, they will advance very, very fast. 221 BC, before Christ, during the Emperor Qin period, they created crossbows. Crossbows, not arrow, crossbows. Right? You reload, you recoil, pump. Reload, recoil, pump. Crossbows. Crossbows, not just in terms of range or accuracy, but it allows the weak to join the army. Meaning, you can have an old man holding up a crossbow, you can have a tool that recoils the crossbow, and then the old man can hold it up and shoot. An old man can't shoot those old bows and arrows. Those require enormous strength, right? Women, children, the bows, in order to shoot that far, it requires enormous strength. Anyway, and then there is China invented gunpowder, right? And then there's the saying that, oh, they use it for celebration. Yeah, right, for a brief period of time, but soon after that, Chinese warships were launching bamboo torpedoes hidden with arrows inside, and then with four small little bamboos shooting out gunpowder that allows it to fly above the sea and then explode, and the arrows shoot out to, I mean, let's be honest we don't just use technology to celebrate, that's a nice way of saying it, but war happens. Without war, there wouldn't be a need to transfer information in a faster, lighter method, right? From writing on bamboo strips that were cut out from bamboos, to smashing the bamboo, taking the fiber, drying them up, and turn them into thinner bamboos, which resulted in paper, the creation of paper, right? It's all for logistics, lighter. The whole nation, when it's so big, you require less horses to file your monthly, I don't think monthly, you can't even reach in a month, right? Your biannual report of what happened 6 months ago. And then the king will decide, and then the instruction will go down, and then they receive the aid a year later. I mean, just that's a way of saying it. Of course they have communication methods, but that is mostly for warnings of impending attack from the Huns, not the Hans, the Huns, right? Anyway, but what I want to say is we are not that peaceful either, all right? And a unification of such a huge swath of land requires the killing of many. If not, it wouldn't be possible. If China is as peaceful as Southeast Asians, then you will see many districts, right? If they were as peaceful. Peaceful nations, or nations who agree to disagree, who shake hands, and hence you will have tiny borders, or comparatively tiny, like France, like Germany, like Poland, Lithuania, Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Liechtenstein, Monaco. Okay? If not, another person, oh yeah, there was one in 1940s. He attempted to unify Europe. If he were to succeed, as you know, the winners write history. History is written by the victors. So you will never know the true version of history, because those who die in battle, those who lost a war, doesn't have the right to tell future generations what exactly happened. All right? Of course, in recent years, that has been democratized, okay? But back in those days, every conqueror is a good guy. But of course, there are certain periods whereby the historians were greatly respected, and a certain accuracy of historical records are respected. Okay. Anyway, that's not what I want to say. Partly to do with history as well. I'm talking about the Asians, us. Okay. So I spoke about we're not as good as we always like to portray. We're sometimes just as bad as the Europeans, but it was at a different era, right? The Europeans, the colonization, the colonial period lasted from, let's say the last 500 years, and unfortunately, at the very tail end of it, photography, videography was invented. A lot of people know how to write, so there were a lot of records. They cannot beautify it as much as the Asians who has done it 1,000 years ago. Say for example, right? Anyway, I'm talking about the other thing. We Asians, right? We believe that we don't have we're not as arrogant. Say for example, I wouldn't arrive at a new place full of human beings and tell people I discover this place. I'm the first person in the world who discovered this place, and then put it in books. Something as ridiculous as even the rhetoric of suggesting this, right? I discovered America. Like, what the hell is that? There is no such thing as discovering a place that are already full of people. There is no such thing. Australia, India or America or Africa and whatnot, there is no such thing. Asians never claim that, right? In fact, the Chinese, who have been controlling the seas in Asia in the 13th century, 14th century, they never claimed those. I'm the first. They have a map before Magellan, right? They have a map that says people here are dark with curly hairs around what resembles Africa, right? People here cover their faces, in the Middle East region. People here do this, people here do that. They accept that they are not the only one in the world, right? And people are different, cultures are different. It's widely accepted for us Asians, right? We accept that. So when we climb a mountain, we are not so arrogant in telling everybody that I'm the first to climb the mountain, so I shall name it. Like, what the heck? How would you know you're the first? That's the first thing that comes to our mind. If you need the Sherpas to help you, the Nepalese Sherpas to help you, wouldn't you think that for the past 1,000 or 2,000 years, there are bound to be somebody who has climbed that mountain, right? So that's the difference between Asians and Westerners, so-called the Enlightenment, blah blah, and all that. They like to claim things. Just like Malaysians, we like to claim a certain food is Malaysia, not Singapore. Hello, any food is an extension of culture. Any food that predates our separation, both sides can claim. How dare you say a Malay in Singapore cannot claim nasi lemak, right? It's ridiculous. Malaysians like to claim. It's ridiculous, okay? So, of course, there are genuine, real scientific breakthroughs. I'm not saying all are not, but I'm just saying that arrogance of wanting to claim as the first one is not a very Asian culture. We will always think that, hey, how can I be so thick-faced that I believe I'm the first or I'm the only one? Cannot be, right? Maybe somebody has done it, just that I do not know. That's how we think. That's how we Asians think. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I want to say. I've long had this thought that when people say certain things, I'm like, bro, it's just because whoever claims first and put it in books, and through the colonization of the world, the command of language gets to claim first, right? How would you know? How would you know? Are you the first or you're not the first? How would you know? Anyway, time for coffee. Do I have money here? Oh yes, I do. All right, let's park somewhere. Not here. That's the best spot. The widest spot. Sorry. So I'm not refuting whatever my friend Loa said. Mr. Borat Motosiput. But he's someone I always respected. Highly knowledgeable. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Cheers.